Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have decided to dive into Matthew Perry's memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. In his book, he walks us through his most prominent life events which coincide with his journey through addiction. He pours his feelings and trials onto each page, never holding back. You'd have to actually read this to know each and every heart-wrenching detail, but in the video, you'll learn about the struggles Matthew Perry went through while he was making the world laugh. According to thefamouspeople.com, Matthew Perry was born on August 19, 1969, in Williamstown, Massachusetts, to Susan Marie and John Bennett. They met when his mother participated in and won the 5th annual Miss Canadian University Snow Queen competition, and his father was the lead in the Serendipity Singers who played there that night. These details of their meet-cute can be found on pages 16 through 18 in the memoir. Unfortunately, Matthew Perry's relationship with drugs started shortly after this when he wouldn't stop crying as a baby and the doctor prescribed phenobarbital, which he took during the second month of his life. Then, at 9 months old, his parents divorced and they went to live with his maternal grandparents in Canada. His mother then went on to become the press secretary for the Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, which led to Matthew having a lot of difficult feelings surrounding their relationship. This also led to him loving his first drink, which he had at 14. Later, his mom went on to marry Keith Morrison, who you'd recognize on Dateline or Seinfeld, among his other accomplishments. His father chased his acting career after the split and became the well-known commercial star for Old Spice in the 70s. Matthew later went to live with him, where he soon found he wanted to be an actor too. He didn't immediately begin to pursue his acting career. He was more interested in playing tennis. However, he figured out that a Canadian kid didn't compare to one from California, nor could he stand the drastic temperature change. That's when he realized he could thrive in acting, and he auditioned for plays at his high school, where he soon became a star. He describes, "Acting was another one of my drugs, and it didn't do the damage that alcohol was already starting to do. In fact, it was getting harder and harder to wake up after a night of drinking. Not on school days, it hadn't escalated that far yet, but certainly every weekend." He was just 15. Sadly, this parallel of internal struggle and external fame would continue through many of his productions. At first, he starred in episodes here and there, most notably for the first season of Charles in Charge. This role led to A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. Matthew enjoyed acting with River Phoenix, so much so he didn't care that the movie tanked. He then appeared in 90210, which he recalled, "By the end of the episode, I've shared a screenplay with Brandon, gotten drunk, held a gun to my own face, and ended up in a locked psychiatric ward. Only the gun bit was play acting, the rest was method." He landed a more prominent role when casted in Second Chance at 17. This led to more TV shows, including Sydney, which aired in 1990. He fell in love with actress Valerie Bertinelli, however, she didn't reciprocate these feelings, and Matthew was relieved once the show was canceled. Several more appearances led to him finally landing the role he's most popular for, Chandler Bing in Friends. This chance was almost ruined by a commitment made to LAX 2194, but he managed to get the audition anyway. When he was casted for Chandler Bing, Matthew was still only suffering from alcoholism, not drug use. This would happen during the shoot of Fools Rush In after season 2 of Friends was taped in a jet ski accident. He wrote, "I stashed that pill in my pocket, and I swear to God I think if I'd never taken it, none of the next 3 decades would have gone the way they did. Who knows? I just know it was really bad." During the shooting of season 3, he was also working on Almost Heroes. Matthew remembered, "Farley was just as funny as you'd imagine, though his addictions, plus mine, meant that we barely were able to even finish the fucking thing. I was shooting Friends and Almost Heroes at the same time, and I was tired. The pills were not doing what they used to do. I had to take a certain number just to not feel sick all the time." Slowly, his addiction amped up, and by the end of season 3, he was taking 55 Vicodin a day. He draws a parallel of his journey through episodes on page 121, saying, "My Vicodin habit had now kicked in badly. If you watch season 3 of Friends, I hope you'll be horrified at how thin I am by the end of the season. Opioids fuck with your appetite, plus they make you vomit constantly. In the final episode, you'll see that I'm wearing a white t-shirt and tan slacks, and both look at least 3 sizes too big for me. Compare this to the difference in how I look between the final episode of season 6 and the first of season 7, the Chandler-Monica proposal episodes. I'm wearing the same clothes in the final episode of 6 and the first of 7. It's supposed to be the same night. But I must have lost 50 pounds in the off-season. My weight varied between 128 pounds and 225 pounds during the years of Friends. You can track the trajectory of my addiction if you gauge my weight from season to season. When I'm carrying weight, it's alcohol. When I'm skinny, it's pills. When I have a goatee, it's lots of pills. So, before season 4 started shooting, he went to Hazelden in Minnesota for rehab. This was the first time. He pulled through, never working while high, and his addiction stayed away until he began filming The Whole 9 Yards with Bruce Willis. The constant partying and working led him to Xanax, which kicked off another stint of relapse. Then he got pancreatitis. The Friends cast started to notice his constant drinking during the taping of season 5, and by season 7, he was living in rehab while filming the marriage of Chandler and Monica. In 2002, he actually postponed his scenes in Serving Sarah and Friends to go to rehab again. During this stay, People magazine had said on its cover that he was happy, healthy, and hot. Season 9 ended up being the only season he was sober and the only one he got an Emmy nomination for. After this, and a hard breakup though, he relapsed once again. Matthew would soon after end his career with Chandler Bing asking the friends where to go for coffee. His addiction in Friends didn't end his acting career though. He had a few well-received appearances in Ally McBeal, The West Wing, and The Ron Clark Story, which amped up his serious side. The sequel to The Whole 9 Yards tanked though, but Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip was notable, however the show never prospered either. He had been mostly sober at the time between this show and writing his own Mr. Sunshine, but being busy wasn't the best for him, and yet again he fell back into his addiction. Matthew Perry continued his career with trying to write and star in his own shows, Go On and The Odd Couple, and even a play, The End of Longing. He battled through sobriety, jobs, and his addiction until his colon exploded and almost killed him on July 19, 2019. His near-death experience led him to finally feel secure in sobriety and gave him the power to stay sober every day. He's still having surgeries, but he's no longer using and has done a ton of advocating with his social platform. Matthew Perry's lifelong journey of addiction has inspired many to join the path of sobriety and wellness, and his acting will continue to make the world laugh for decades to come. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope I've inspired you to go purchase Matthew Perry's Memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Thank you, and subscribe for more.